An Addiction Website Guide from Curlie. Chapter 1. Addiction Websites at curlie.org/health/addictions. Addiction Websites. abcnews.go.com/us/story ?ID =906888 page =1, is addiction just a matter of choice? Transcript of report on conflicting views about addiction by John Stossel of ABC News, televised in April 2003. Also includes message boards on which this report was discussed and links to web resources. addictiontoday.org, Addiction Today. Journal devoted to evidence-based treatment for all forms of addiction and dependency. Includes a list of treatment centers and self-help information. CAMH.net, Center for Addiction and Mental Health. Canadian research facility and hospital which provides direct patient care. Includes searchable database of addiction-related materials. emergingsideavaeast.blogspot.com, Emerging Sideways. Anonymous blog about recovery from sexual and food addictions. enotealone.com/250-1.html, enotealone.com, Addictions. Articles and discussion about addictions with special sections on addictions to pornography, sex and love, tobacco and chemical substances. Drugs. tobaccocontrol.bmj.com/content/8/3/254. Full, print media coverage of research on passive smoking. Research evaluates tobacco industry influence on coverage in newspapers and magazines of the health effects of secondhand smoke. Addiction organization websites at curlie.org/health/addictions/organizations. AAAP.org, American Academy of Addiction Psychiatry. Official website of the AAAP. NALGAP.org, National Association of Lesbian and Gay Addiction Professionals. Provides information and support for addiction professionals and individuals in recovery. Includes links to other related lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender resources. ReformU.com, Reformers Unanimous International. Non-profit faith-based addictions program helping people find freedom from addiction. Chapter 2. Young People Addiction Websites. Teen Addiction Websites at curlie.org/health/teen_health/drugs_and_alcohol. AboveTheInfluence.com, Above the Influence. Interactive site focusing on ideas to keep teens from using drugs. Allows teens to share their stories through photos and videos. ActiveEurope.org, Active. A non-governmental federation for national abstainer organizations in Europe. Addaction.org.uk, Addaction. A UK-based drug and alcohol treatment charity. Includes drug information, parent section, publications, and links. Drugfree.org, Partnership for Drug-Free Kids. A drug abuse prevention, intervention, treatment, and recovery resource, to help parents and caregivers address alcohol and drug abuse with their teens and young adults. health.howstuffworks.com/alcohol.htm, How Stuff Works, How Alcohol Works. In-depth partial graphic tutorial about alcohol examines all the ways in which alcohol affects the human body. lessontutor.com/ees12.html, Dear Daughter. An open letter to a daughter about the effects of drugs, drinking, and death. Monitoringthefuture.org, Monitoring the Future. An ongoing study of the behaviors, attitudes, and values of American students and young adults funded by the National Institute on Drug Abuse. SAFETY1ST.org, Safety First. Resources for parents about teens, drugs, and drug education. Strategies for home and school. teenswithproblems.com/drugabuse.html, Teens with Problems. Information to help parents spot substance abuse in their teen, including over-the-counter medications, huffing of inhalants, and use of illegal drugs. TwoGoodPrograms.org, Mendez Foundation. A substance abuse and violence prevention organization, focuses on alcohol, tobacco, and drug prevention education among children and teenagers. Their websites at curlie.org/kids_un_teens/health/substance_abuse/d.a.r.e. Dare.org, d.a.r.e kids/teens/mature teens official site for the national program. Provides children with the information and skills they need to live drug and violence-free lives. Also includes information for adults on d.a.r.e America programs. rfyd.org/kids.htm, the Kids page. Kids features a winning DARE essay, as well as a tribute to its 11-year-old author who was killed by a drunk driver a few months after writing the essay. Also lists DARE activities in Warren County, Kentucky. edrugerehab.com, Mark's Realm. Kids/teens includes DARE program information, Teen Center, Kids Flash site and cool site links. angelfire.com/ny/mppd New York DARE, MT. Pleasant Police DARE program. New York. Introduces program that is integral part of health education in the MT. Pleasant, New York schools. roscodar.tripod.com, Roscoe DARE program. Provides information on local program and parent-student resources. Substance abuse websites at curlie.org/home/family/parenting/child_safety/substance_abuse. Steroidabuse.com, Association Against Steroid Abuse. Steroid drug profiles and educational documents for parents and educators. talkingwithkids.org/drugs.html, Talking with Kids, Alcohol and Drugs. Steps to take to discuss drug use with your children. TheAntidrug.com, The Anti-Drug Parenting Tips newsletter produced by the Office of National Drug Control Policy. WarningsIGNS.info, Parenting with Dignity. Information resource focusing on warning signs of drug abuse and gang violence. Chapter 3. Addiction Support Group websites at curlie.org/health/addictions/support_groups. Support group websites. RecoveryRealm.com, Recovery Realm. Recovery chat room with prayers, resources, and meetings. SobrietyOnline.org, Sobriety Online. Non-profit organization counseling individuals with alcoholism and other addictive behaviors towards recovery. Subsux.com, Subsux.com. Censorship-free zone to help people come off maintenance drugs and other substances. Eating disorder support group websites. Angelfire.com/amiga/anorexia's-upport/egroup.html, anorexia online support group network. Allows anorexics and their family members to interact and offer support to each other. Includes personal stories and testimonials and other online support. CEAHow.org, Compulsive Eaters Anonymous. CEAHow is a fellowship of men and women who meet to share their experience, strength, and hope with one another in order to solve their common problem of compulsive eating. DallasCEAHow.org, Dallas Compulsive Eaters Anonymous. CEAHow. EatingDisordersAnonymous.org, Eating Disorders Anonymous. 12-Step Fellowship, which holds meetings in several U.S. states and online to help people to recover from eating disorders. Discussion board, meeting schedules, download EDA step workbook. edmediagroup.freeservers.com, Eating Distress Media Awareness Group. Group of individuals concerned with the coverage of eating disorders in the mass media. Foodaddiction.com, Acorn Food Dependency Recovery Services. Group of abstinent and recovering food addicts committed to helping other food addicts. Description and schedules for the fee-based retreats, primary intensives, workshops and coaching provided in different parts of the United States. Forums.delphiforums.com/lighthouse2001/start, Connie's Ed Lighthouse. Anorexics, bulimics, compulsive overeaters and those who love and care about them are all welcome here. Sharing our experiences, strength, and hope as we learn to handle our emotions without turning to the food as our protector. Healthymodels.tripod.com, healthymodels.com. Help for youth escape from eating disorders associated with unrealistic expectations and pressures placed on them by models. joyproject.org, The Joy Project. Information, support, and resources for people with eating disorders and those who support them. PickyEatingAdults.com, Picky Eating Adults Support. Support and information to people whose lives have been adversely affected by their lifelong picky eating habits. SETIG.org, Scottish Eating Disorder Interest Group. Open to anyone with an interest in eating disorders, with an emphasis on a mix of professional and self-help participation. Links members into a network for care for people with eating disorders. Sheena'sPlace.org, Sheena's Place. A community-based support center in Toronto offering support group programs, outreach/education, and resources for parents and teens. Programs are free of charge. TheRecoveryGroup.org/OTT, The One Day at a Time. Contains message board, meeting groups, and newsletter. WellnessWithinYou.com, Wellness Within You. Group of counselors from the Montreux Counseling Center which offer counseling, but not medical advice or treatment to help sufferers of eating disorders to achieve a successful recovery. They offer individual and family counseling and consulting workshops with teleconferencing and online options. Gambling Addiction Support Group websites. AlbertaGA.net, Alberta Gamblers Anonymous. Offers information about the local Gamblers Anonymous groups in southern and northern Alberta, Canada. FemaleGamblers.info, Women Helping Women. Offers support and informs women in recovery from a gambling addiction. GA.org.je, Gamblers Anonymous, Jersey Branch. Offers information about the local support group for compulsive gamblers in the European island country of Jersey. GAAustralia.org.au, Gamblers Anonymous Regional Service Office. Provides a calendar of meetings, outline of programs, testimonials, and suggested reading list. Based in Australia. GAM-ANON.org, GAM-ANON.org. Offers help for the spouse, family, and close friends of compulsive gamblers. GamblersAnonymous.org, Gamblers Anonymous International Service Office. Contains information about the Fellowship Support Group and its programs for compulsive gamblers. GamblersAnonymous.org.uk, Gamblers Anonymous, UK. Provides information about a fellowship of men and women who have joined together to do something about their own gambling problem. Based in London, United Kingdom. SFCGHub.com, Safe Harbor Compulsive Gambling Hub. Contains chat rooms and a forum for compulsive gamblers and their family and friends. Sexual Addiction Support Group websites. AtlantasExAddicts.com, SA Atlanta Intergroup. A local chapter of Sexaholics Anonymous. Includes a listing of Georgia area 12-step meetings for recovery from sex, love, and relationship addictions. BEFreeinChrist.com, Free in Christ. Christian-based support for men addicted to pornography or sex. BRSlaw.blogspot.com, SLAA in Baton Rouge. A local chapter of Sex and Love Addicts Anonymous for women only. Includes description of the 12-step fellowship, meeting schedule, and contact information. Colorado SAA Intergroup.org, SAA Colorado Intergroup. A local chapter of Sex Addicts Anonymous. Includes meeting schedule, personal stories, and contact information. Edmontonsa.org, SA Edmonton Intergroup. A local chapter of Sexaholics Anonymous in Edmonton, Alberta, Canada. Includes meeting schedule and contact information. NapervilleFreedomGroup.com, Naperville Freedom Group. A Christian-based sex addiction recovery support group. Background philosophy of the group, resources, and contact information. Chicago, Illinois. NewNameMinistries.org, New Name Ministries. Devoted to serving the needs of all those affected by the consequences of sexual offenders. NewYorkCSAA.org, SAA New York City Intergroup. A local chapter of Sex Addicts Anonymous. Includes information on local meetings and the 12-step recovery program for sex addiction. portlandsaa.org, SAA Portland Intergroup. A local chapter of Sex Addicts Anonymous in Portland, Oregon. Includes a contact information and a listing of 12-step meetings for recovery from sex addictions. Puget Soundsaa.org, SAA Puget Sound Intergroup. A local chapter of Sex Addicts Anonymous. Includes meeting information, announcements, and contact information in Lakewood, WA. rsaministries.org, RSA Ministries. A Christ-centered, 12-step recovery program for people who are struggling with compulsive sexual behavior. SA.org, Sexaholics Anonymous. A fellowship of men and women who share their experience, strength, and hope to solve their common problem and help others to recover. SAA-SYDNEY.org, SAA Sydney Intergroup. A local chapter of Sex Addicts Anonymous. Includes information on local meetings near Sydney and the 12-step recovery program. SAA-RECOVERY.org, Sex Addicts Anonymous. Explanation of the SAA and 12-step philosophies. Worldwide listing of meetings, online meetings, and access to an online bookstore. SAAMontreal.org, SAA Montreal Intergroup. A local chapter of Sex Addicts Anonymous. Includes events, listing of local meeting and contact information. Sanon.org, Sanon International Family Groups. A fellowship of people who share their experience, strength, and hope so that they may solve their common sexual problems and help others to recover. SANON4COUPLES.org, Sanon for Couples. Information about the Sanon Couples in Recovery Program and meetings. SASOCAL.org, SA Southern California Intergroup. A local chapter of Sexaholics Anonymous in Southern California. Includes locations of meetings, literature, and conference information. SCA-RECOVERY.org, Sexual Compulsives Anonymous. Members are encouraged to develop their own sexual recovery plan and to define sexual sobriety for themselves. SCALosAngeles.org, SCA Los Angeles Intergroup. A local chapter of Sexual Compulsives Anonymous. Includes information on LiteraOr, local meetings, service opportunities, and events in Los Angeles. SLAA-SEATTLE.org, SLAA Seattle Intergroup. A local chapter of Sex and Love Addicts Anonymous. Includes meeting schedule, regional events, and contact information. SLAACincinnati.org, SLAA Greater Cincinnati Intergroup. A local chapter of Sex and Love Addicts Anonymous. Includes meeting information for Cincinnati, and Northern KY. SLAAFWS.org, Sex and Love Addicts Anonymous. A 12-step fellowship open to adults of any sexual preference and addiction. Includes U.S. and international meeting locations. SLAANEI.org, SLAA New England Intergroup. A local chapter of Sex and Love Addicts Anonymous. Includes meeting and information for those seeking recovery from sex and love addiction in the Boston, Providence, and Worcester areas. SLAOC.org, SLAA UK Intergroup. A local chapter of Sex and Love Addicts Anonymous. Includes meeting schedule and contact information.